Hello everyone, Mege here. It's been a while, I know, as some of you, hopefully most of you know, I've been sick recently, and it's not to the coronavirus crisis we're having all around the world, even though Italy is actually on lockdown right now, so I've been home for the past over a week. And I've been sick in a different manner, hopefully, or maybe it is coronavirus, but in my case, it wasn't serious. You can never know, right? It can be asymptomatic sometimes. But either way, I haven't been recording mostly due to my voice being very rasp, very dry. It kinda still is, so hopefully it's not bothersome to you guys listening to this. Regardless, it's getting better, so I'm starting to record again, and you'll see content again on the channel. And the content I wanted to upload, this was on my to-do list for quite a long time now. It was my thoughts, to share my thoughts on the testing ground changes we've had now something like 10 days ago. So as you can tell, I'm actually quite out of the loop here. So, if you have seen my duels videos in the testing grounds, you know that right away I've enjoyed the changes. I think the changes are overall good. Something I want to say right away is that I really appreciate how Ubisoft is willing to push fundamental changes such as these, which really in a way can shaken up the whole game's foundation, and they're willing to push this so far into the game life cycle. I think that's a very bold move, and I personally really enjoy it, but such a move is bound to come with some reaction from the overall community, which has been used to how the game plays out for quite some time now. This is kind of similar to how they changed, for example, back when you could get Garbrick on Paris, for example. It's kind of the same magnitude, but that happened a long time ago compared to this. Now, I'm not going to talk about the changes themselves in this video. You can find plenty of videos about it, plenty of posts, even the Ubisoft official patch notes. I'm just going to talk about how I feel about the changes, and as you know, I feel good. I really enjoy that offense, non-bash based offense, was more viable. I think the game at its core really shines when the whole three-directional attack system is utilized compared to just bashing the opponents over and over. And I think that's a core part of the game that sadly doesn't really work in the current state of the game. Blocking is way too easy. Highest level of play, most unblockables can be also reacted to. So one of the changes I really enjoyed was also feint believability. Is that a word? I think so. But you know, making feints more believable. Now, there are still some issues, of course. These are a blanket changes, so they can't fix all and every hero. For example, Shoulder Bash still felt very strong, in my opinion. Especially, again, this is something I mentioned a lot of times. I still feel like back dodge Shoulder Bash is too good with the tracking we have in the game right now. So hopefully, some specific changes for heroes can be achieved later into the future, but as blanket changes, this was great. And personally, just a little something on Warden. Something I would like to see on Warden is, again, some sort of nerf to backdodge Shoulder Bash, and at the same time making his chains a little more useful. The changes surely helped, but his side legs, for example, are still quite obvious animation wise, so something hopefully can be done there. And maybe if they could let him chain lights after heavies, that would be cool as well. And this is something that I think should apply to most heroes. You know, having more freedom in chains can really help out in the long run, since the opponent will have to watch out for more options in general. Another change that was implemented was the stamina values overall reduction and removal of stamina penalties on whiffs, I believe, and blocks. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I enjoyed being able to attack more, but some characters, for example Berserker, felt very oppressive with these changes due to their sort of never-ending offense, you know? And overall, I think these are still good. Maybe some stamina penalty could be implemented for blocking lights. I think that would be cool. Just much lower than before. I don't know. This is something I would like to see tried and take feedback on from the developers. And lastly, something else is damage values were overall lowered across the board. Again, these are blanket changes. I've seen plenty of posts lamenting about this. They were actually changed mid-testing grounds period, which is great, honestly. Seeing the developers willing to try out and iterate so quickly on different stuff was very refreshing. Overall, they were kind of around the place, honestly. At first, for example, bleeding damage was left untouched, so bleeding damage heroes were crazy strong, like shamans was getting crazy damage, or PK as well. Regardless, the intention seemed to be about lowering damage overall across the board, and I think that's a good call personally. The game as it is right now, damage values are way too high. You can, with some character, kill the opponent in like 3-4 hits, and that's extremely low from a fighting game perspective, honestly. Like, it can happen in fighting games, of course, but it's usually something extremely slow, very hard to land. Nothing compared to, for example, Warden's Shoulder Mesh dealing 40 damage, or Highlanders dealing 40 as well. What I overall really like about the changes is the direction they're going, which seems to be pushing the game forward and toward what it's supposed to be, which is at its core, and this is something I've said a lot of time, at its core, it's a fighting game. I have many videos on this matter, I've talked about this plenty, but just to catch some of you guys who might not know what I'm talking about, feel like For Honor, at its core, it's a fighting game. It really borrows a lot from fighting games, while having its exclusive and actually quite interesting 4v4 mechanic. But still, most of the controversy about the game in the community comes from the fact that a lot of players, and I would say around 80% of the player base, got into this game not expecting a fighting game, not being ready for a fighting game. And fighting games are games with a high skill selling, high learning curve. They're games which are hard to get into. And something which I really enjoyed about For Honor as soon as I tried it is that this is something you probably could hear me say in one of the very early videos, is how it is basically a fighting game which much more accessibility, is much more easy to get into For Honor and get good at For Honor than other games, which has its pros and cons. And that's good. The problem is when players overall expect something different from the game. And honestly, there is not really anything wrong with that. I think the fault here, if any, lies with how Ubisoft has handled the game since its conception. They were never really sure about where the game should go overall, and I'm glad we seem to finally have, hopefully if the changes are implemented, some direction in that sense. I don't want to delve too much into this. I'll link a video which talks more about this specifically in the top section right now, so you can check that out. But something that really exemplifies this is how the community overall feels about unreactable attacks. The game right now with the changes is pushing unreactable / harder to react to attacks and mix-ups, and the community doesn't really want that for a big part. I mean, I've seen plenty of support of the changes, don't get me wrong, but a lot of players are against it, and this is something that should be a no-brainer for me personally, for how I feel. Honestly, I don't see really a solution for this. Like, people have had a game being away for a long time, and they will hardly part with the way the game plays right now. Mind you, something I haven't clarified is that I'm speaking mostly about duels. I've played almost exclusively duels during the testing ground period. Sadly, I got sick before I could try 4v4s probably. So about the 4v4 changes, I'm not sure myself, but I've personally asked Zero Craig, who's a pro player, he's also a content creator, check him out, he's cool beans. He plays a lot of 4v4s competitively as well, and he told me that he really enjoys the changes overall. So I'm honestly hopeful and feel like the changes will be good for 4v4s, Dominion's Breach as well. Anyway, I don't want to ramble on too much. This is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and the general footage in the background which I played today. I really encourage you to please share your thoughts on this in the comment section. I want to hear from all different perspectives and opinions, and maybe we can engage in some sane and constructive discussion in the comment section. Also, feel free to hit me up on Discord, direct messages if you want to talk about this. I would be more than happy to talk this out more extensively. Again, sorry for my voice. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I wish you all a good day.